The Monastery of Stoudios, more fully Monastery of St. John the Forerunner at Stoudios, are often shortened to Stoudios, Studion, or Studion, was historically the most important monastery of Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. The residents of the monastery were referred to as Stoudites. Although the monastery has been derelict for half a millennium, the laws and customs of the Studion were taken as models by the monks of Mount Athos and of many other monasteries of the Orthodox world. Even today they have influence. The ruins of the monastery are situated not far from the Propontis in the section of the city called Psamathia, today's Koca Mustafa Paşa. It was founded in 462 by the consul Flavius Stoudius, a Roman patrician who had settled in Constantinople, and was consecrated to St. John the Baptist. Its first monks came from the monastery of Koca. History. The Stoudites gave the first proof of the devotion to the Orthodox faith during the Schism of Acacius. They also remained loyal during the storms of iconoclastic dispute in the 8th and 9th centuries. They were driven from the monastery and the city by Emperor Constantine V. After his death, however, some of them returned. Hegemonos Sabbas of Stoudios zealously defended the Orthodox doctrines against the iconoclasts at the Seventh Ecumenical Council in Nicaea. His successor was Theodore the Studite, to whom the monastery owes most of its fame, and who especially fostered academic and spiritual study. During St. Theodore's administration also the monks were harassed and driven away several times, some of them being put to death. Theodore's pupil, Naucratius, re-established discipline after the iconoclastic dispute had come to an end. Hegemonos Nicholas refused to recognize the patriarchs and Photios and was on this account imprisoned in his own monastery. He was succeeded by 5 abbots who recognized the patriarch. The brilliant period of the Stoudios came to an end at this time. In the middle of the 11th century, during the administration of Abbot Simeon, a monk named Stoudites, a disciple of Simeon the new theologian, criticized some customs of the Latin Church in 2 books which he wrote on the use of unleavened bread, the Sabbath, and the marriage of priests. As regards the intellectual life of the monastery in other directions, it is especially celebrated for its famous school of calligraphy, which was established by Theodore. The art of manuscript illumination was cultivated, with many brilliant products of the monastic scriptorium now residing in Venice, Vatican City, and Moscow. The Theodore Psalter, created at the monastery in the 12th century, is in the collection of the British Library. In the 8th and 11th centuries, the monastery was the center of Byzantine religious poetry. A number of the hymns are still used in the Orthodox Church. Besides Theodore and Nicetas, a number of other theological writers are known. 3 of the Stoudites monks rose to become the ecumenical patriarchs, and 3 emperors, Michael V, Michael VII Doukas, and Isaac I Komnenos, took monastic vows in the Studion. In 1204, the monastery was destroyed by the Crusaders and was not fully restored until 1290 by Constantine Palaiologos. The Russian pilgrims Antony and Stephen were amazed by the size of the monastic grounds. It is thought that the cloister sheltered as much as 700 monks at the time. The greater part of the monastery was again destroyed when the Turks conquered Constantinople in 1453. Modern condition. The only part to survive into the 20th century was the Cathedral of St. John Baptist, probably the oldest remaining church in Istanbul, a 5th century basilica which was converted by Bayezid I Zekwari into the Mosque Imre Hakkami. The ancient structure sustained grave damage from the Great Fires of 1782 and 1920. The 1894 Istanbul earthquake also also contributed to its ruin. Following the earthquake, a group of Russian Byzantinist scholars, led by Fyodor Uspensky, opened the Russian Archaeological Institute on the monastery grounds, but its activity was suppressed in the wake of the Russian Revolution of 1917. During the subsequent decades, the ruins of the monastery complex were looted by local inhabitants to repair their houses, while the magnificent 13th-century pavement still lies open to elements and disappears slowly but steadily. The church building, presently a museum after the end of its restoration in 2014, had plans to be converted into a mosque.